Your first bolt-action army. Which nation to pick? 6 bolt-action nations now have full 3rd edition army books, and your first army is most likely going to be one of them. But which one? Nobody sat you down and walked you through what each nation actually does on the table before you spent your money. This video is that conversation. So, here's the situation. As we said, Bolt Action 3rd edition now has 6 fully published army books. The armies of Great Britain, Germany, the armies of Imperial Japan, the armies of Soviet Union, and the armies of the United States, and the armies of Italy, which covers not 1 but 3 separate Italian forces, and we'll come to that later. The rest of the nations are currently on PDF rules while their books are written, which means the armies I'm covering today are the ones with the most complete, up-to-date rules support right now. And for a brand new player, that matters. Most people choose their first army one of 2 ways. They go with the most popular option, usually Germany, or they pick whatever looks best in the Warlord Games catalogue. And I understand both of those instincts, but neither one tells you how the army actually plays. And in 3rd edition, how an army plays is everything. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the nations I'd hand to a brand new player right now and explain exactly what makes each one work on the table and give you a simple decision framework that makes the choice obvious. Let's get into it. Now, before we get into the nations, here's the framework I'm using. 3 things matter more than anything else when picking your first army. Number 1, how forgiving is it? When you make mistakes as a new player, and you will make mistakes, does your army give you a margin for error? Some nations punish bad decisions hard, others absorb them. Number 2, how clear is the game plan? The best beginner nations have an obvious strategy from turn 1. You don't want to be entangling layers of special rules in your first 3 games. You want a plan that's immediately readable. Number 3, how well supported is it? Model range, community resources, opponents at your local club. A published army book and a large player base makes your first 6 months of bolt action significantly easier. Forgiveness, clarity, support. Right, let's look at the nations. Nation number 1, the United States. And this is where most people get it consistently wrong. The nation I'd put at the top of the list for a brand new player isn't Germany, it's the United States. And here's why. The American national rule in 3rd edition is called Fire and Maneuver. It reflects the US Army's tactical doctrine, the emphasis on firepower and mobility that came from arming every rifleman with a self-loading M1 Garand or carbine. The mechanic is this: for every 3 men in your unit who fire a rifle or carbine, you add 1 additional die to your total shots fired. 4 men give you 1 extra shot. 12 men give you 4 extra shots. What this means in practice is that your basic infantry squad, the cheapest and most fundamental unit in your force, is generating more firepower than the equivalent squad in almost any other nation. You don't need to take expensive support weapons to put meaningful fire on a target. Your standard rifle section does that for you, and that's an enormous advantage for a beginner because it means your core units are working hard from the very first game, before you've learned all the nuance of a support weapon and its placement. The second rule is air superiority. Your forward air observer can call in an airstrike not once but twice per game. And that's a significant offensive threat that most armies simply don't have. And modern communications mean your reserve units take order tests to come onto the table without the usual -1 penalty, giving you genuine flexibility in how your force arrives. And finally, support. The US has one of the largest model ranges in the game. With the airborne, rangers and marine options from by air, land and sea, your force has real room to grow as your skills develop. Finding opponents at club level is easy, finding tutorial lists and community advice online is easy. And if you're asking me which army I'd hand to a brand new player with no prior wargaming experience, USA every time. Now, the Soviet Union. The second nation I'd recommend is almost the complete opposite of the USA, and that's the Soviet Union. The Soviets are built around one idea in 3rd edition, that's resilience, and I mean that literally. Their headline rule is called the Great Patriotic War. Whenever any Soviet infantry or artillery unit fails a morale check and would be destroyed as a result, you take that test again and apply the second result. not a reroll that you can ignore if you don't like it. The second result stands. But here's the thing, a unit that could have broken might hold, and that happens regularly. Soviet infantry dies hard. On top of that, for the motherland, gives you inexperienced infantry units with a mechanism to shake off pin markers before they're given an order. If there's an enemy within 12 inches, roll a die. On a 4, 5 or a 6, one pin marker is removed. That's significant because pin markers are how bolt action slowly degrades your force. Soviet inexperienced units resist that degradation in a way that other nations' cheap infantry simply don't. Then there's mass batteries. Soviet artillery barrages are genuinely terrifying. When you roll to determine the fire for effect radius, you roll 2 dice and take the highest result. Bigger barrages, more units hit, more pins on your opponent, and combined with flying tank, where Soviet air observers get better odds of calling in a ground attack aircraft, that's then harder to shoot down. You have a force that projects real firepower while your infantry just keeps coming forward. The game plan is not complicated. Advance, pin your opponent, absorb losses and keep going. You will never be standing over the table at turn 2 wondering what you're supposed to be doing. Who's this for? If you want the maximum models, a simple aggressive strategy and a force that shrugs off casualties better than almost anything else in the game, the Soviet Union is your army. Right, before we get to Nation 3, I want to address the question I know some of you are sitting there asking. What about Germany? I haven't forgotten Germany. It's the most popular faction in the game, and the Armies of Germany book is excellent. Hitler's buzzsaw means every German light and medium machine gun fires 1 extra shot, and that applies to vehicle-mounted guns too. Your basic infantry squads are genuinely dangerous because of it. Blitzkrieg means your regular and veteran officers can pull an additional order die from the bag when issuing U-Men Snap to It order. More activations at the right moment is a decisive advantage. Initiative training means your regular and veteran units don't take the -1 morale penalty for losing their squad leader. And the Panzer Ace rule lets you designate one veteran vehicle as a terror on the table, +1 pen modifier and +1 on the damage table when using the main gun. This will be in the special rules. And this is a genuinely powerful army. I'm not dismissing it, but, and this is the honest answer, Germany is a great army for an intermediate player, not a beginner. And the reason is exactly what makes it attractive: flexibility. Germany can do almost everything well. Elite infantry through Waffen-SS and Fallschirmjäger and Gerbersjäger via Defend the Fatherland. Strong vehicle options with Panzer Ace, machine gun dominance with Hitler's buzzsaw. The flexibility is a genuine strength at higher levels of play. But when you're starting out, too many good options means it's hard to commit to a clear game plan. You'll keep second guessing your list. Play Germany later. Start somewhere simpler. You'll come back to it with a much better understanding of why it's so powerful, and why not like and describe down below while you're at it. Be instantly updated when the next video in this series drops. Now, Great Britain. Nation 3 is the balanced beginner army. Let's start with the rule that surprises most new players. Britain's first national rule isn't about shooting and morale. It's called fixed bayonets, and it's a close quarters combat bonus. For every 3 models in your unit that are involved in close quarters, you add an additional die when rolling to damage. 4 models give you 1 extra damage die. It sounds like a small thing, but in a tight combat where every die counts, it's absolutely not a small thing. Combined with artillery support, where you roll 2 dice and pick the highest result whenever you roll on the artillery barrage table or smoke barrage table. Britain is actually an army built for both extremes. You're more effective in close combat than most nations expect, and your artillery is more reliable than almost anybody else's. And that's genuinely a versatile combination for a new player who hasn't yet decided what style of game they prefer. Come on lads is the rule that rewards you for understanding officer placement. Your platoon and company commanders have their morale bonus increased by 1, but any cover save that they and the men in their unit receive is reduced by 1. You get a better morale profile in exchange for less protection for your officer. It's a trade-off that teaches you positioning. You learn the game while you play it. And through For King and Country, the British Army has real depth. Guards, commandos, airborne and chindits all have specific unit options and additional rules. Your force can evolve as your skill grows. There's also the historical range: North Africa, Britain, Italy, Britain, Northwest Europe, Britain. If you haven't decided on the theatre yet and you want to keep your options open as your collection develops, Great Britain is the army that travels everywhere. Who is this for? A versatile all-rounder who wants reliable artillery, a close combat edge, and an army with genuine depth to grow into. The Italian question. Now, Italy. Because I need to give Italy its own section and explain why I haven't put it in the top 3 for beginners. Because it deserves more than being dismissed in a list. The armies of Italy is unique in one important way. It covers not one army, but 3 completely different forces, each with its own national rules. There's the Royal Italian Army, and I'm going to murder all these pronunciations. The Regio Esercito, built around defence strategy, which lets regular and veteran units start the game in ambush and slows the enemy's advance in turn 1. Combined with Alzo Zero, give your artillery resilience and mixed quality, making your inexperienced infantry more reliable. This is an army for a patient defensive player who controls the tempo of the game. And then there's the Italian co-belligerent army. The Italians who switched sides after 1943. Vendetta lets your units potentially remove a pin marker before they even take their order test. On a 4+, if there's an enemy within 12 inches, and an inter-allied coordination lets you add American British units to your force. A generally hybrid army. And finally, the Italian National Republican Army. Mussolini's forces still fighting alongside Germany. Civil war means most of your units roll a die before being shot or assaulted. They might become fanatics or they might become shirkers, and you don't know which until that moment. German support lets you upgrade your machine guns to fire the Hitler's buzzsaw extra shot. 3 armies, 3 completely different game plans, 3 different ways of thinking about bolt action. Here's the honest assessment. Italy is a fascinating faction, but asking a brand new player to first choose which Italian army they want, then understand unique special rules for the variant before they've played a single game of bolt action, that's a steep ask. Pick Italy for your second army. You'll appreciate every one of those rules far more once the game itself is familiar. Now, Imperial Japan, handle with care. One more nation to address before the framework. Imperial Japan. The Armies of Imperial Japan is one of the most thematic army books in the game. Death Before Dishonor, Gyokuzai gives every Japanese infantry and artillery unit the fanatic special rule. Every unit, the entire army fights with that mindset. They also automatically pass morale checks when being assaulted by tanks. That's remarkable. And then there's Banzai. A Japanese officer can issue a Banzai order to every infantry within 6 inches that hasn't already activated and is given a run order automatically. No order test required, and must attempt to engage the nearest visible enemy in close quarters, all of them, at once. It's one of the most dramatic and decisive activations in the game. But, and this is important, the Banzai charge only works when you commit it at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right distance. Too early and you've spent your force before contact. Too late and you've lost the units you needed. Until you have a genuine feel for bolt action's activation sequence and range management, Japan will punish you more often than it rewards you. Brilliant army, but not your first army. So, the framework, and let's apply it. So, back to those 3 questions. How forgiving do you need your army to be? Go USA, fire and maneuver, means that your rifle squads generate extra firepower just by having rifles. Your basic units are always productive, even when you misplay a situation. Modern communications mean your reserves arrive reliably, and there's a real margin for error here. How clear do you need your game plan to be? The Soviet Union. The Great Patriotic War means your infantry holds longer than it should. For the motherland, helps your cheaper units shake off pins and keep fighting. Massed batteries makes your artillery land harder. The strategy is always the same: advance, pin, overwhelm. How much versatility and depth do you want? Great Britain. Fixed bayonets in close quarters, reliable artillery through artillery support, an officer trade-off, come on lads, and sub-factions from guards to commandos to airborne that give your collection somewhere to grow. And if you remember one thing from this video, remember this: your first army should be chosen based on how it plays, not how it looks. Pick the play style first. Models will grow on you. Now, the trap. One final thought, because this is where most people get it wrong, even after watching videos like this one. The biggest mistake new bolt action players make isn't picking the wrong nation. It's picking a nation for the wrong reason. I want Germans because the Panzer looks incredible. I get it. But Hitler's Buzzsaw and Blitzkrieg are wasted in the hands of someone who doesn't yet understand how to build a list around them. I want Japan because of the Banzai charge. Again, I understand, but a Banzai charge at the wrong moment with half of your force out of range against an opponent who's already pinned your key units, you'll lose that. And then you wonder what went wrong. I want Italy because Reggio Esposito looks amazing on the table. It does, but pick which game plan you want before you glue a single model. Pick your nation based on the game plan it gives you on the table. Then build your models. Then add the centerpiece. That's the order. Do it backwards and you'll be rebuilding your army inside 6 months. I want to save you that money and that frustration. So to wrap this up, 6 army books are out for Bolt Action 3rd edition. Here's where that leaves a brand new player. USA, fire and manoeuvre means your rifle squads outshoot the points cost for game 1. Forgiven, flexible, brilliantly supported. Soviet Union, the Great Patriotic War makes your infantry stubborn beyond reason. For the motherland, keeps your cheaper units fighting. Mass batteries, punishes defensive play. Simple game plan, maximum impact. Great Britain, fixed bayonets in close quarters, reliable artillery, officer-led morale, and sub-factions that give your collection genuine depth. Germany, Japan, Italy, all brilliant armies, all worth building towards, just possibly not your first army. So why not hit subscribe and you'll be first to know when videos drop. Drop a comment below, tell me which nation you're going with. Love to hear from you all. Take care guys, and talk to you again soon.